it puts a lot of focus on the kids that are here and kind of shifts focus from our own kids. And especially when we have a longer term, a higher needs kid, our boys they start to feel they can start to feel like they're a little bit less than or they're not as important. And so we always have to make a point to do something just with them to let them know that they're not less important than the foster kids.
You to have until we're old to stay faithful to this love one day at a time.
Let's talk about how foster care impacts your marriage.
Well, we've had, I don't even know,
We've been doing it 2 years.
75, it feels like kids come
Probably.
through by now.
Probably about that.
And for the most part, we just have them for, a few days. And we get them and it's their worst day. And so the kids are generally in rough shape when they get here. The ones that are old enough to understand anyway. And no, it's interesting. It puts a lot of focus on the kids that are here and kind of shifts focus from our own kids. And especially when we have a longer term, a higher needs kid, our boys they start to feel they can start to feel like they're a little bit less than or they're not as important. And so we always have to make a point to do something just with them to let them know that they're not less important than the foster kids. And depending on the kids and what they need, we had one for 6 months or so that he was too young to diagnose, but we're confident he had multiple, like a learning disability and a few other things. And he was hard to manage, and there was a lot of stress involved with him for both of us.
Yeah.
And we just try to deal with it as best we can.
But I don't think we never really let it affect him and I. I don't think we've ever had any that have just completely undone what him and I have, or we have had it where we've gotten respite for a weekend just because our boys need a break, or him and I are at each other's throats and we okay, we need a break. So we're pretty good about taking that break when we need it. If they call and it's a kid that we know is going to be super high needs, a lot of times we say no, just depending on where we're at that day in our life and in our relationship. It's, can we handle this or can we not? And I mean, we say no a lot, but that's, we have to for our mental health too. So, but we're pretty much on the same page with what kids we take. Like what we'll say no. There's a lot that I know that he's going to say yes. And so I don't even ask him. I just tell them yes. And then I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, here's what we're getting. And he's like, oh, okay. Like the last time I said, don't kill me. He goes, how many babies are we getting? And I said, just one. And he said, okay, I can handle just one. Well, then I came home with 3. So it's hard to say no sometimes. It's I'm at the children's home picking up one, and then they say his sister needs somewhere, and I'm like, all right, send sister 2. Well, then another kid comes in that we've had before, and I'm like, okay, let me call Ben. Hey, babe, what do you think about taking so and so? And he's like, well, of course, I loved her, so we take that one too. And yeah, when do you say no? They wanted us to take her brother also, so 4, and I finally had to say no. Three's my limit. I don't have room in my car for more than that. But he's usually pretty good about taking whatever, and we tend to take the younger ones, so they don't have quite as mouthy attitudes as the older ones. We've had a couple that have been older,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely makes me appreciate him more, because I see how he is a dad to our kids, but then I see how he's a dad to these kids. And just the other night, we don't have girls, so he takes advantage when we do have little girls and was painting her fingernails the other night. And it's just little things like that that I know we both want a girl, but we're too old to have another one. I'm too old to have another one. So I don't know. But it makes me appreciate him as a dad because I see different aspects of him come out that I don't necessarily see with our boys. So, whatever. Anything else?
You got it.
Pain in my butt.